Man City has overtaken Arsenal, Leeds is crumbling, and Bournemouth might have secured safety. We'll cover all of this and more on the supporter section today. Grab your scarves. We start right now. Welcome into the supporter section. I am Brandon Pasek, and this is episode 68 of the supporter section podcast. Go ahead and leave a like and subscribe if you have not already, because we are well on our way to 100 subscribers. We love to get there by summer, so go ahead and help us out. I have my good friend here with me, Steven Curl. Beautiful smile, great kit, by the way. But if you could choose one Premier League player to start an MLS franchise with, who would it be?
One Premier League player to start MLS franchise. Is Haaland off the table? I feel like that's the easy answer. I'll go for something a little bit more creative, maybe.
Do whatever you want.
I'll go with something fun. I'm gonna go with Wilfred Zaha. I don't know.
Oh,
something
that's
fun.
Pretty fun.
To build it off, the answer's wrong, but to have Wilfred Zaha at the center of your club, him in his prime, coming in. If he was at Inter Miami right now, I'm sure he would be tearing it up. Just saying. So yeah, I'll go with Wilfred Zaha because I love to see him in form and when he's at his best, and he definitely would be in the MLS. So Zaha's my answer. What about you?
He might eventually make that move. They've been talking about his next move. I think his contract's out this summer. I wonder if MLS franchise will go after him. I think I was joking about this with you earlier, but I said if you could give me Kevin De Bruyne and give me 20 middle school kids and we would still win games, I think I would take that. But in reality, I don't know. Probably a player like maybe like a Calvin Phillips, sort of like B choice or C choice.
Yeah.
He's too young to, he's too good too, but someone like that to hold down the midfield, that wouldn't be a bad choice, I don't think.
Look at us.
Yeah, look at us making some sense out of a nonsense question there. Well, we move on to our golden scarf, which our golden scarf we give out every week. It goes to the person, team, thing, or whatever we thought deserved some praise from the previous week. I'm giving it to Liverpool this week. 4 wins in a row. They're up to 5th, I believe, making their charge for the Europa League spot. They don't have it secured just yet, and they have some important games left, but they're definitely in the mix and have a great chance at it. Good on Liverpool, and a good result of the weekend that we will talk about. Steven, who's your golden scarf?
My golden scarf is going to be centered around my MLS player, Wilfred Zaha. No, Crystal Palace getting it done 4-3 over the Hammers at the weekend. Scoring 4 goals in the Premier League is always so much fun, especially when it puts you above your West London rivals, Chelsea. Yes, you heard that right. Chelsea. Crystal Palace, the team that was in relegation trouble, led by Roy Hodgson, has now jumped to Chelsea on the Premier League table. That's incredible. And I know Chelsea is like super sliding, but again, good on Palace to turn the ship around. They are flying right now. So that's my scarf. Go Eagles, fly.
Is that what they say?
No, I think that's like a Philadelphia Eagles thing, but we're just going to keep going
Fly,
with
Eagles,
it.
fly.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Eagles. Eagles. That's their Crystal Palace fans. Learn it. Well, we'll move into our Premier League review. And, Steve, the champions are in the groove, to say the least. Manchester City versus Arsenal. This was the game of the year, or so we thought it was. It was definitely going to decide the title. But Arsenal didn't really show up. It was really odd. Man City beat them, not just beat them, whooped them 4-1. It could have been a lot worse. And for minute 1, you could just tell the game was over, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They came firing out the gate. Even had a penalty shout early on, which looked pretty questionable, but City looked to take charge of the game right out the gate. Like you said, Arsenal were flat-footed and they did not show up.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes down to coaching. But you know what doesn't come down to coaching? Kevin De Bruyne. What an absolute baller he is. He started the scoring in the 7th minute with a beautiful run and goal, an assist from Haaland. He also assisted John Stones' goal right before the half. and he also scored right after the half in similar fashion. I believe that was in the 54th minute. By then, it's 3-0. The game was over. And I know I mentioned Kevin De Bruyne earlier, where I said just give me him and a bunch of middle schoolers, and I think we'd still win games. I do believe that's true, actually, so call me crazy if you want. But where does Kevin De Bruyne actually rank among the world's best midfielders, Steve?
I'll go with current because I think it's number one, honestly, and I don't think that's an overstatement. The way he's able to control games and take charge of games that matter. Again, like we said, this game was the title, and right out the gate, scoring goals, assisting goals, the sublime passes, and he's been doing it for City for a while, and with the Belgium national team as well. He's a guy that if I'm in a big game, he's going to make the free kick, he's going to make the pass, or he's going to shoot from 30 yards out. Like, this is a guy that can get back, be physical. Not really his game to be
Yeah.
physical on defense, but he can. It's in his game, and it's exactly who I want. And you can tell how much it meant to him. Even especially on Holland's last goal of the game, him standing up, screaming from the bench. He wants this. He wants this bad, and I would want him very bad. So he's been number
Yeah.
one in the world for me, and I don't think that's an overstatement.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about this too, and I was like trying to go through all the best teams in the world at the moment. I'm like, Napoli, he gets in over anybody in Napoli, obviously. I mean, the one you really start to struggle with, I think, is Real Madrid. You know, Modric, he's sort of on his way out, right? But
Yeah.
still absolutely amazing. But I think Kevin does more for your team. Um, yeah, they have a couple other young midfielders in there. So I think Kevin's above them. Anybody on Barcelona?
No, I mean not really. I mean Pedri's cool, and you have the 200 million pound Jude Bellingham and Dortmund, but then it's like
He's pretty good.
he's pretty good. But current form, we're not talking about future price tag, that kind of stuff. Like the player in form right now. I mean, I think you'd be a fool to not pick Kevin. Are we talking Enzo Fernandez? No. Like all these
No.
top-rated midfielders, I think Kevin's there. He's just doing it consistently.
Yeah, he's so good, and we're going to see if he can do it in a couple weeks against Real Madrid. That'll be a massive game. You know, Erling Haaland, the guy we talk about every week because he's always making headlines. He had a couple chances in the first half, but didn't score them. Probably should have had at least one of. I think he had like 3 chances. However, he literally once he let his hair down, literally took it out of his bun or whatever, just had his hair. He actually looks really ugly, but with his hair
Damn.
down. So I'm glad he has it up most of the time. But he literally lets his hair down, and he got his goal. It came in the 95th minute, making the game 4-1. Yeah, Arsenal did score a goal, but the game was over by then. I mean, good for Holland again, breaking the record. I think, did he tie it, the 42 game record this weekend as well?
I don't know about that. I know he definitely beat the 38 game record, but
Yeah, absolutely amazing season for him. He'll probably hit 60. We talked about that last week, so go back and watch
yeah.
that. We'll probably talk about him more in the future, of course, once he beats, if he hasn't already beat the 42. I should know that. But Steve, did Man City ever shift out of first gear in this game? It honestly just looked like Arsenal was super scared to go at them, and Man City just picked them apart, whether that was Pep, which I think a lot of it was, just setting them up so strongly, but also just their talent is so good. It honestly felt like it was just the Holland De Bruyne show at times. Like it was just them two. And that's all they needed on the day.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like City, the game had its moments to where Arsenal tried to do something for a span of like a couple minutes here and there, but no, I wouldn't say Man City got out of first gear. I mean, with that goal in 7 minutes helps, obviously.
Right.
Um, Again, it could have even been two if that PK was given in the beginning of the game. So you could tell Arsenal, even in that foul, in that moment where it was deemed not a PK, but that maybe a little on edge. Like you could tell the moment of the occasion got to them. And so it was Arsenal, I think, looking to feel out the game potentially, and City just took it to them right away. And Arsenal couldn't hang, and they weren't they couldn't hang with it. So yeah, I would say that they went on cruising altitude, and then like the seatbelt sign came on, and you're able to take off your seatbelts. Holland took down his hair and scored a goal for fun. Like it was just
Yeah.
it was kind of sad, honestly, to watch. Even as a Tottenham fan, uh, I'm just like, damn, Arsenal, you're really doing it. So,
Yeah, no, they were crumbling before our eyes. I mean, the metaphor of Holland letting his hair down, basically throwing away the last 5 minutes of the game, and then just happened to score a
yeah,
goal, just really put the icing on the cake, if you will, on that game, on the season, I think as well. Man City then overtaking Arsenal at the weekend. Yeah, dude, it was really weird. How poor was Arsenal for you? Like, did they do anything well?
no, I mean, no, I mean, you're playing the best team in the world, arguably, right? So, I mean, we're gonna find out in a couple of weeks here the Champions League, but so you have to have that in mind, but honestly, they were very poor. That's not an excuse. You're trying to win the Premier League. Like we've been saying, they've been incredibly consistent, barring these last 5 games, honestly. And just to come into this and not show up for the most important game of your season to potentially win the title. And again, they had all season to work up to this moment of like, yeah, probably knew it was going to be City, and they saw them creeping up, and yeah, they were like almost like taken off guard that day. So it was very poor, extremely poor. Um, and it's just very interesting because not to always talk about Tottenham, but Tottenham beats City like all the time, and it's so weird. And I don't even think we lost to them this year. I think we beat them. I think that was City's last loss was against Tottenham.
It was
And
1-0.
so
Yep.
it's not impossible, right? Like so it's just weird that Arteta didn't have the team ready. Like you have the talent.
No,
If Tottenham has the talent, Arsenal you have the talent. Like Man City's not invincible. Like you can beat them. And so,
yeah.
and for you to not to be in any other competitions, I think yeah, it's a real bad look.
It's an awful look. I mean, you could just tell that they look like scared children. They look like dogs with their tails between their legs stepping on the field. It's almost like they didn't even want to be on the field that day, and I cannot wrap my mind around it. I think Arteta one has to take major blame for that. I haven't paid any close attention to like the news or whatever that came out afterward because it was just a waste of a game, a waste of an occasion. Arteta set up the team poorly, incorrectly, and mentally. They were beaten before they even stepped on the field. That is Arteta's fault. It was absolutely pathetic, especially for then leading. They were the league leaders. They were first. I cannot wrap my mind around it. They were going, like you said, against one of the best teams in the world. They're trying to take the title from them. Literally, their only opposition the rest of the season. Maybe from the whole season, like this is the one team. If any of the teams were going to catch them, it was going to be this one team. And this is the one game to make a statement saying, "No, this is our title." And they showed up and started the game like that, letting a goal in 7 minutes, almost giving arguably a PK in the first 2 minutes or whatever it was. It's just absolutely pathetic, Steve. I could not believe my eyes.
9 goals conceded in Arsenal's last 3 games, coming off the backs of tying Southampton and tying West Ham. Yeah, and you don't make a fool out of my friend Brandon here. When he says one hand on the trophy, he doesn't say it lightly because he did. They did have one hand on the trophy. That wasn't really a matter of opinion. That was like fact. They were top of the league. And coming from the Spurs fan, you Spursed it. You bottled it. You did.
They did. They did.
100%. And there's no way back. Like it's not being dramatic in that Man City is going to beat West Ham. Like they're going. It's and Arsenal. Guess what? You got to play Chelsea. Better wake up.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. That's tomorrow as we're recording this.
Yeah.
I just can't believe it. Even you get into half, it's 2-0 down, right? They say 2-0 is like the hardest or the scariest lead in soccer. But like you think they're going to turn up the second half, right? Switch something up. I don't know. Not at all. Not at all. They came right back out the second half, gave up a goal within 10 minutes, was it? Game over. Just like unreal. It's almost like they knew that they couldn't compete with Man City, which is so sad. They literally laid down, and so did their fans. Their fans were like sympathetic to their players. I don't know if you saw that. Like, it's one thing to like encourage your team, right? To like rah rah, get going, all that. Like encourage them, especially in a maybe a hostile-ish environment. You know, everyone knows this is the game. Everyone knows. But like they were clapping them like at the end of the game, and it was just like you clapped that. It's one thing if they lost, but you're clapping them after they just got spanked 4-1 and didn't even try. Didn't even try. I just their Arsenal as a fan base should be sad. Like I'm sad for them because that's absolutely embarrassing. From their fans, from their coach, from the players, and I hope they finish the season strongly. Maybe there's some more twists to the title race. You said there's not. But look, Arsenal still have to play Chelsea. That's tomorrow. Then they play Newcastle, Brighton, and they end the season with Nottingham Forest and Wolves. Hopefully those are 2 wins at the end of the season. But those other 3, I don't know. I don't know. With Man City's current form, it seems like they're going to beat everybody, but that's not necessarily true. Let's really back in a little bit. Not necessarily true, but they are in the groove. They play West Ham next, then Leeds, then Everton. Then they go and play Chelsea, Brighton, Brentford. They could easily win all of those. Will they? I don't know. I don't know. Leeds and Everton are fighting for their lives. Chelsea could turn up on a day. Brighton's one of the best teams in the league. And Brentford, if Brentford's at home, which I don't know if that game's at home, Brentford's really tough to beat at home. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I think there's still a lot of question marks there. But I think Arsenal can still be a little hopeful. Maybe they can get back in it. But it's almost like before that game, they just accepted it. And I can't accept that as a person. And maybe it's just like a competitive thing in me. But I could not accept my team, or even if I was playing, like to just be beaten before I stepped on the field. That's just utterly embarrassing.
I got nothing to add. That was great.
Sorry. That was a rant.
That was perfect.
I feel bad for you. I feel bad for you, Arsenal. Good for Man City, though. They proved everyone right, I guess. Moving on to looking down the table a little bit at Europe. The race for Europe remains very, very tight. We're split up by a couple points. Everybody's within like 4 points of each other. Yeah. It's a lot. Brighton was surprisingly beaten by Nottingham Forest 3-1 in the midweek, but made it right with a 6-0 smacking of Wolves. Villa beat Fulham 1-0 in the midweek, but couldn't keep the scoring run and the undefeated run, which I think was 10 games, going, losing to Man United 1-0. Villa just really ran out of gas, to be honest. Speaking of Manchester United, they let a 2-goal lead slip to Spurs in the midweek. That was sort of surprising, only taking a point 2-2. While Spurs went to Anfield and gave us the Spursiest game you could ever watch, didn't they, Steve?
Oh my God, yeah, it was absolutely incredible. I was away at the weekend at a wedding, and I was watching the game on my phone. I was kind of like looking in between, like, okay, we're down 1-0. Talk to my mom or something. 2, 3. Okay, I guess the game's over. No, the game wouldn't be over. Harry Kane scored right before halftime, and Tottenham would get back into it. It definitely had a period of play where it was an onslaught from Tottenham. It's somehow we end up leveling on a Richarlison goal. And when I say a Richarlison goal, I mean the Richarlison goal, because it is the only goal Richarlison has scored in the Premier League. The Evertonian does it against Liverpool, shirt off, dramatic fashion. I believe it was like the 93rd minute, hushes the crowd. You see the terrible tattoo on his back. And then God smites you for being a Tottenham fan, and Diego Jota goes down the field, finishes the ball past Fraser Foster, and Tottenham lose. Jurgen Klopp pulls his hamstring, yelling at the fourth official on the sideline, which was absolutely hilarious. Tottenham lose again, and I'd be lying to say if I didn't expect it. I knew it was coming, and that's the sickest, most wonderful thing about being a Spurs fan. No matter how sweet it gets, 3-0 down, turn off the TV. All you who kept it on, oh wow, you're back in the game. No, you're not. Yeah, sorry. So it's Tottenham. It's Tottenham. It's what they've been all year, to be fair. Same thing with that Manchester United game. You give up the goals in the beginning of the game, you come back in the second half of the game. That's been Spurs fashion all year
It's
long.
it's like a handicap. They're
It,
starting at a handicap.
it is. We're starting at a handicap, but you're not good enough to draw to drive the ball that far off the tee box. Like you're not. And you still just roll right into the lake.
Hmm.
I mean that's how it feels being a Tottenham fan. And you know, under Conte, like sometimes you would get those late results at the final seconds of the games and stuff. But to be able to concede 3 goals within 20 minutes when you already did it, you already did it to Newcastle, and you concede 2 goals in the first half against Man United. You think the one thing that this team would be working on, literally the one thing that they should be working on, is to not go down by multiple goals within 5 minutes of a game. But that's just not how we roll, you know? We like to liven things up. Uh, so, anyways, it was a bad game. It was a bad game for Liverpool too. They looked really bad, very inconsistent. They were very surprised when Tottenham came back into the game. Both these teams are bad. Both these teams are inconsistent. Who will be worse? We will find out.
Yeah, we will find out. I mean, I guess there's some good things to take away knowing that Tottenham can still score goals, scoring 5 in their last 2 games, but they love giving them up, right?
Jeez.
Somehow you have to find the balance. If they can start finding that right towards the end of the season, that could be a bright spot, right? To sort of, Europa League, I guess, is what you're hoping for. But there's a lot of really good teams around you, so hopefully you'll turn in some good performances, not against Villa, please, and maybe make some European competition. Newcastle put Everton and Southampton to the sword, beating Everton 4-1 and Southampton 3-1. They're so good, dude. Which one of the teams that we mentioned that are in this race for a European spot had the best week in the race for Europe?
I mean, I gotta say Newcastle probably just dispatching easily, keeping that momentum going, scoring multiple goals in those 2 games, doing what you're supposed to do, really not letting the games be interesting from the other side. I think learning to shut those easy games out is huge when you're going for that Champions League spot, which I mean they have obviously, but yeah, Newcastle has just been incredible. I feel like it was 2 weeks ago when we were talking on the podcast, back when Tottenham was above Newcastle. Uh, it's crazy what they've done. And kudos to Liverpool too. Liverpool has been turning it on. I think they've won like 4 in a row. So
Yeah.
who knows what's going to happen, honestly.
I definitely don't, but I will tell you, I was gonna say Manchester United as well.
Yeah.
I think Newcastle has definitely already cemented their Champions League spot. They're sitting in third currently on 65 points above Manchester United, who's in fourth. But Manchester United beating Villa 1-0. It was a pretty even game. I think Manchester United definitely played better than Villa, but it could have been a draw. Honestly, if Villa could have got a goal. But the fact that they got a win, they are now on 63 points. That is six. No, what is that? 7 above Liverpool. Excuse me, math. Good Lord. I think you said this earlier. It's like they're wet cemented into that fourth spot.
Yeah.
Maybe not before. I mean, they could still be looking up. They could jump Newcastle. Maybe. I think Newcastle is better than them. But either way, I think they're definitely in a Champions League spot after this weekend. So I think 3 and 4 are locked. Newcastle, Man United, they might flip flop, but that's really it. So I think that's a really big accomplishment from this weekend from those
Yeah.
two teams. Yeah, I think that's it. Anything else you wanna say about these? I mean, we can talk about their run-ins, which I
No.
think is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely I'm gonna come out and say it again. You might have recognized this from a month ago, but I'm back on the Liverpool train. I think Liverpool is going to chase down United. No, probably not, but they could. Who knows? Um, I don't know. I'm not saying United's in there yet, but I think we pretty much covered it. Unless you want to cover those run-ins.
Yeah, well, I want to let's do a little bit of predictions here. I mean, we have about 4 games left for
Yep.
those who are caught up. Some people are still catching up on some games, so some people have 5, some people have 6. Um, but with that in mind, Newcastle's in third, Manchester United's in fourth, Liverpool's in fifth, Tottenham's in sixth, Aston Villa's in seventh, Brighton is in eighth, Brentford's in ninth. I didn't include Brentford on this list of run-in because I think they're pretty much out of a European run-in, but they've had an amazing season. Looking at Brighton, they have Manchester United to play, Everton, Arsenal, Newcastle, Southampton, Manchester City, and then Aston Villa on the last day. Villa play Wolves, Tottenham, Liverpool, and Brighton. Just 4 more games to go. Tottenham plays Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, Brentford, Leeds, and West Ham. Liverpool plays Fulham, Brentford, Leicester City, Aston Villa, Southampton. Pretty easy run-in for Liverpool, I think. But, there's just so much to say about these teams because if you're looking at Liverpool's run-in, it is the easiest, but they've been so inconsistent. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they lose to Fulham, lose to Leicester, and lose to Aston Villa. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, would you?
No, I wouldn't because there's a big difference when Tata went down like they did to Newcastle. I mean, we lost. Like the fact that Liverpool was able to let their lead slip to get it level, Tottenham could have finished some other chances. I think to that, like Liverpool was bad. Like let's not make any ifs, ands, or buts about it. They've won 4 in a row, but yes, I would not be surprised if Fulham kind of takes it to them, or you just don't know. It could be a nil-nil game, but then all of a sudden Van Dijk slips. I'm just picking on him from the last game, but who knows? Yeah, Liverpool is not convincing enough for me. But anything could
Yeah.
happen. Again,
I
Brighton's running it's pretty tough with United. You got to play Everton, who's kind of fighting down there. Arsenal, Newcastle, City, and Villa.
yeah.
That's a
I
that's
think
a lot.
that's what I'm gonna say. Aston Villa needs to hopefully beat Wolves this weekend. Hopefully beat Tottenham. But I think Aston Villa could win out, honestly. But they could also lose 3 of those 4. I hope they win out, of course, but like I think it might come down to that Brighton game on the last day on for 7th. I for some reason I think Tottenham will still stay above. I know we're equal on points, Villa and Tottenham are, but I still think they'll stay above. Honestly, though, I think Liverpool will get 5th. I think that's the safest bet. Can we agree on that? That Liverpool will get 5th but come the end of the year? Or no,
Yes.
you could disagree. I mean,
No, no, I agree. It's just it's that Tottenham thing. Like I said, like I wouldn't be surprised if we went out to like the last couple games and then blow it. But yeah, I think
true.
Liverpool looks like the better team. Tottenham hasn't won in 4 games, so yeah, Liverpool looks like the team that's definitely most likely to finish in fifth.
And honestly, I think Villa and Brighton look better than Liverpool, at least more consistent. Um, but for some reason, Liverpool will still end up in 5th. I think 6th and 7th is going to be a dogfight.
God.
Wouldn't be surprised if 6th was Villa. Wouldn't be surprised if it was Brighton. Wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if it was Tottenham. If we're going on current form, Villa would slip into 6th. But again, they only have 4 games left. The other teams have more games, and so it's one of those ideologies. Would you rather have games to play, right? Games in hand, or have those games already played, have those points out of the way, and you look at the last 4 games as all cup finals and go out there every week and try to win 4 cups, right? And I think that's how Aston Villa will approach it, knowing Unai Emery's history, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tough. I know we didn't give any predictions there, but I think Liverpool in 5th, if we want to sort of agree on that.
Yeah.
6th and 7th, it is an absolute toss-up, and that's the best part of this year. It is absolutely amazing. It's going to come down to the last week, I think. So keep on watching and stick with us. Subscribe if you have not, because we will be covering it all. Definitely. Looking at the bottom, there's more separation. Bournemouth bounced back after the loss to West Ham with 2 wins this week, beating Southampton 1-0, which was my bet, by the way. Wink, wink. And the surprising 4-1 trouncing of Leeds. Good Lord, that's so bad. We'll get into them. We had Crystal Palace, West Ham, and Wolves on our safe list last week, Steve. But is it now fair to put Bournemouth in there now?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Those two wins, those were some huge points that they got. I was not expecting them. 4-1. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they're 6 points clear. No, 9 points. Yeah, 9 points clear that bottom three. I think that is going to be enough for the Cherries to stay up. Good for them. It's exciting. It's fun to see teams when they need to win, like see the importance of the games and just show out, and that's what they did. So good on you, Bournemouth.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're actually looking pretty decent recently. So yeah, I totally agree. They're definitely safe there now. So we have Crystal Palace, West Ham, Wolves, and Bournemouth safe, and that's probably all we're gonna put in there the rest of the season, unless something crazy happens at the bottom, because it is going to be a shit show the rest of the year. Maybe Leicester's the only team that could get out of there, but I don't know. Leeds drew with Leicester this week. This was definitely the result Everton was hoping for after they were beaten 4-1 by Newcastle in the
Oh
midweek.
my God, yeah.
But then Leeds, like we just mentioned, went on to lose to Bournemouth 4-1. And get this, they broke their club record for the most goals conceded in a calendar month with 23 goals in April. I think it's easy to say not only did they break that record, but their whole club is broken at the moment, and has looked broken since 3 games after Javi Grazia took over. I think, right, Steve? Do you have any feelings about that?
No, I mean, it was a sinking ship already with Jesse Marsh, and he just kind of put some center blocks on the ship to make it go down a little bit quicker, is how I kind of view it. So it's, yeah, I mean, no wins out of their last 5, 1 point out of the last 5. And the games aren't close. They're not looking good. Like, it's not like they're losing
No.
close ones where we're like, ah, dang. It's like, wow, look at them conceding again and again and again. They're definitely one of my picks to go down. Yeah, they look terrible.
They look terrible, and it's really on their defense. I forget what I said. What was it in the middle of the season? They have 3 players, right? It's championship level players, Premier League level talent, like middle of the Premier League, and then they have young players, young unproven players who still need to develop, like your
Yeah.
Nantos. And when your worst players, your championship players, are in your defense, and you need to figure out how to get results at the end of the season, that is not a good combination. That is a very, very bad combination, actually. Ilian Melier, I think we were talking about him earlier this season about how good of a goalkeeper he was, and I think is. But he's been having some howlers lately, just absolute stinkers. 2 in that Bournemouth game he should have saved. 1, he basically gifted a goal to Bournemouth. It was just absolutely awful goalkeeping. So they're just looking down, and maybe I just answered my own question, but where do you think the issue lies here, Steve? Is it the players, or is it the managers? I mean, we can go back to Jesse Marsh if we want, but like, where do you think the issue is?
I mean, I just think, yes, in general, we've always criticized Leeds on wanting to play this attractive style of football, but not having the talent to do so. And I think they got spoiled with Rodrigo putting goals in early on in the season, and
Definitely.
it's it's like, oh wow, look at us, like we can play creative, free attacking, flowing football, and then you're just getting dissected by Anthony. 1 minute, and then the next, it's not just the $100 million Brazilian, it's everybody on Bournemouth. So you kind of have to have a look in the mirror and say, okay, we need to grind out results, and that's just not what they're doing. They're still like the high line, the pushing for. It's there's the identity that's not there, so you can put blame on the manager, but also the players just aren't good enough, and they haven't been good enough for a while. So I'm gonna go with the overarching answer of yes to both of those possibilities of where the problem lies.
Yeah. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of games. I do agree with you there. Javi Gracia is also not a great manager in and of itself, but I don't. I guess they could still fight and get out of this. They're still. I don't know how much hope is left, to be honest, but they could still do it. They could still do it. I just wanted to cover some of the games the past month that they did lose, and it was by a large margin. I know I mentioned that 23 goal stat. They lost to Arsenal 4-1. You could see that coming. Arsenal were beating everybody this year. They did win in the month of April. They beat Nottingham Forest 2-1. But then after that, the next week, they lost to Crystal Palace. If you remember that, it was 5-1. Then they lose to Liverpool 6-1. They kept it close with Fulham, only losing 2-1. They tied Leicester City, like we mentioned. And then this result, 4-1 against Bournemouth.
Backbreaker.
It's just it's bad, and it's sliding. If they would have beat Leicester, that would have been a great result, right? You can say, look, we can do it, guys. But look at all those results. They only won once in April, and they had, 7 games? 6 games? That's a lot. And they've given up a lot of goals, shipped them out, gave them out for free. Leeds today, they were rumored to consider sacking Javi Gracia, actually, and bringing in the old faithful Sam Allardyce, Big Sam. Leeds are in deep trouble, if you couldn't get that already. That's why we're talking about them for 10 minutes, because they're in a lot of trouble if they're considering Big Sam. Steve, would it be right to bring in Big Sam with 4 games left?
I mean, it's the kitchen sink, right? The kitchen sink named Sam. Literally, I don't know. I think they've already made so many wrong decisions to this point. I don't think it hurts. It's not like this guy, remind me the name.
Javi Gracia.
Yeah, Javi Gracia. It's not like he's getting it done. Even looks like he's up for it. So Sam's a guy that here's all the pundits in England. He's a guy that knows what it takes and da 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 da. Like he's been there before and all that stuff. So maybe. But does that?
Well, here's the run-in. I don't know, but let me tell you this: Sam Allardyce versus Manchester City, win or loss, or draw.
No, that's a loss.
That's a loss. Big Sam against Newcastle.
God, I mean, yeah, it's a loss.
Big Sam against West Ham.
Could be a win, a result. I'll say a result. Possible.
Okay, they might need more than a result. And then on the last day, Big Sam against Tottenham.
Oh, win. He could beat the shit out of Tottenham. You kidding me?
I don't agree. I think it's very, very grim.
I don't know.
Is what I'm saying. Very, very grim.
Regardless, whoever's at the helm at that last game of the season, Tottenham, I put it on the books now. We will be losing to Leeds United, 100%. Our defense will crumble under that attack. Anyways,
I don't know. They look like they might be headed down. Yeah. Definitely will be keeping an eye on
But are they
that,
worse? Are they worse than Everton and Nottingham Forest? Like they're still they're safe. They're safe right now. If the season were to end today, Leeds United is safe. So we're talking a little bit. I mean, to be fair, but we are talking a little bit like they're in 20th. So they have safety as we are speaking.
Yeah.
But Manchester City and Newcastle are going to have some things to say about that. So, but still.
I mean, it's also close down there. I mean, they could easily be in 18th. They're on 30 points, as well as Nottingham Forest, who's in 18th, as well as Leicester City, who's in 16th above them. It's all just based on goal differential.
Yep.
So I'd say that's luck at that point to not be in the bottom 3. Speaking of Everton, though, Leicester City then faced Everton. We highlighted that Leicester City Leeds game and that Leicester City Everton game as potentially deciding factors for those 3 teams' seasons.
Yeah.
And the 2 games ended up as draws.
Boring.
So we didn't get much out of it. But this Leicester City Everton game ended 2-2, not boring. Not boring at all. And it's honestly very surprising that this game only had 4 goals in it. The XG for each team was over 3. I think Leicester's was like 3.6
Damn.
or something crazy. So their expected goals was over 3 for each team. It could have easily been 4-4. Honestly, it was a crazy game, and it had everything. Calvert-Lewin finally scored a goal. It was from a penalty, but he did. Soyuncu had a set piece goal. Usually he's given those up on the other end. Jamie Vardy scored a goal like he was 26 again. James Maddison missed a penalty. It was actually a terrible penalty. Alex Iwobi scored like he does from time to time. And of course, like I've mentioned, there's no defense in this game. It was back and forth. I think a post was hit at some point. Amazing last-ditch save that turned into a counter that hit the crossbar from a Jamie Vardy chip. Like, just insane, like NBA style soccer match. It was a lot of fun, actually. But I do think a draw was a fair result in the end. Steve, who's happier with this draw?
I mean, I'm guessing Leicester, because you can't lose to Everton there. That would be tough. That puts you at 29 points, and they'd be above you on 31. So yeah, I mean, I'll go with Leicester. It's cool to see Vardy score again. So they needed it. That's, I think, 2 draws now and a win in their last 3. So if you want to call that momentum, it's not relegation momentum. So it's at least trending in the opposite direction. So that's big for
Right.
them. But at the same time, E- Everton's everything to lose, sure, but they needed a win. So yeah, I'll probably Leicester's happier with that draw.
Yeah, I think so too. Definitely. I mean, it helps Everton picking up a point and not losing a
Yeah.
point or losing 3. But it just keeps Leicester tighter to them. I think Leicester, since they are out of their relegation spots in 16th, like you said, their form is 2 draws in the past 2 games and a win before that. I mean, Dean Smith looks like he's steadying the ship, you know, maybe a little bit. I know they could go out and get waxed this weekend. Who knows? But that's sort of what you want, right? You want to steady the ship coming the end of the season, get a win, because that's probably all they need.
Hmm.
A win and a draw, and they're safe, right? Maybe. So I don't know. I don't know. This is going to be a similar conversation like we were just doing about the top half of the table, but for the bottom half. What are your thoughts on this relegation battle now? I mean, I'll run through the run-ins for these teams, starting with Leicester. They have Fulham, Liverpool, Newcastle, West Ham. Leeds has Man City, Newcastle, West Ham, Tottenham. Nottingham Forest, Southampton, Chelsea, Arsenal, Crystal Palace. Everton plays Brighton, Man City, Wolves, Bournemouth. Nice way to end the season. Southampton plays Nottingham Forest, Fulham, Brighton, and Liverpool. What are your thoughts?
Thoughts are that Leeds definitely has the harshest run-in out of all the squads.
Yeah.
Going up against 3 people in European places. That's tough.
Mm-hmm. Very tough.
I don't want to see it happen, but it's just, gosh, dang. Yeah, I mean, Southampton, I think, is done. We can already put a fork in them. Leeds, potentially, probably. I'm really intrigued, honestly, by Nottingham Forest. If Nottingham Forest can go and get 3 points at Southampton, which is not a given whatsoever, that's huge. They have them in this matchup, and they also have Palace last game of the season. That's where you kind of get to those dramatic game weeks where it's last game of the season, win and stay up. You're checking the table and everything. So that Palace game for Nottingham Forest is very intriguing to me as well. If they're actually able to make something
Mm-hmm.
happen, Leicester has a tough go at it as well. So Leicester's still not safe whatsoever. So
No.
God,
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I don't think any of these teams will be safe until the last day. You know, Southampton. I think they have to win all their games to be safe, and I think they can beat Nottingham Forest. I think they can beat Fulham. Brighton, could they beat? No, I think they could beat Liverpool, but that'd be a stretch on the last day. Because Liverpool could be fighting for a European spot, right?
yeah.
Um, I think Southampton's down. I agree with you. But after that, it's like we are going to be losing a giant, of the Premier League of some sort, and it could be the biggest one in Everton, right? Never been relegated.
Yeah.
But Dyche could also string 2 results together, and that's all they need,
And
right?
another thing too is you got to look at goal differential. It could be the deciding factor of if these teams are going up, going down. Everton's at negative 25 goal differential right now, and I'm looking at Leeds at negative 24. If Leeds keep getting smacked around and Sean Dyche keeps the hatches battened down a little bit and it maybe is even still losing games but at a lesser goal rate or whatever, then that could be a deciding factor. Who knows? And a lot of these teams are playing Manchester City in these final games of the season. So it's games like that when you're already down 1-0. How can you potentially stay in the game, even if you lose it, but you want to come back and maybe get a draw or a result, or you lose, but you gave up a goal and you just looked across the way and Leicester just gave up 5. I mean, who knows? It's this, and this is, you're gonna see teams be dejected and give up a ton of goals. It's just gonna happen. It's the psyche of,
Yeah.
of these teams at this point. So it's who has that mental strength, and that's when I look to coaching. And a guy like Sean Dyche is huge. So we'll see.
Yeah. I have a feeling it's going to be Southampton, Everton, and Leeds. I just have this feeling.
Wow.
Leeds is not going to beat Manchester City. They're not going to beat Newcastle. West Ham, they got to be circling that game saying, let's go get him. And then Tottenham, like you said, you think they can beat them? I just don't see it.
Yeah.
Maybe if they're fighting for dear life on the last day, and they probably will be. So I guess they could. Nottingham Forest, Southampton can win, should win, probably. Chelsea, we know how bad Chelsea have been. Could beat them. Arsenal, not going to give you a shot there. I'm sorry. I think Arsenal turn it around. And Crystal Palace, last game of the season. Maybe they only need a draw from Crystal Palace, and they're safe. Who knows? Everton, Brighton, they're going to lose to Brighton. They're going to lose to Manchester City. They're not better than Wolves by any means. That's going to be a hard game. And they play Bournemouth. Again, if Wolves and Bournemouth are on the beach, Everton could win those 2 games. And again, that might be all they need, but they're not better than any of those teams they play by any means. And so that's just so tough. That's so tough. Leicester, I think, maybe the second easiest with Fulham and then West Ham on the last day.
Yeah.
Fulham next, got to circle that game and win that. West Ham on the last day, maybe all you need is a draw. I don't know, man. It's going to be tough. Like I said, Southampton, Everton, and Leeds, I think, will be going down. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll give mine. I think Everton stays up. I'm gonna go Nottingham Forest, Southampton, and Leeds going down. I think Everton's gonna stay up. I just think it's gonna happen.
Yeah, well, it very well could. It's going to be, like we've mentioned, it's going to be super, super exciting. So keep following along with us if you enjoy it. Match week 28 reschedules are this week in the midweek. Brighton takes on Manchester United. Brighton hosts United, looking to keep their names in the European conversation, like we mentioned, after they smacked around Wolves 6-0. They also lost to United on penalties in the FA Cup semis, if you remember. Was that over a week ago now? Yeah, I think it was 7-6 on pens.
Yeah.
Pretty good game, pretty fair game. I think this one could be a draw again, Steve. But like we mentioned earlier, Manchester United's in that wet cement right now in the 4th spot. Do you think they're going to fully cement it hard concrete this weekend against Brighton?
I even think a draw kind of does the job as well, really. I would really only say Brighton coming out and beating them causes maybe Raiders for a little bit concern. But yeah, I think United can get it done. But at the same time, dude, Brighton's freaking good. They just, gosh. This is probably maybe not my number 1 watch of the week, but Brighton just plays beautiful football, and I want to see what Manchester United is made out of away. But to actually answer your question, yes, if they win, they are cemented in 4th league spot. I think a draw does it as well.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think they will. I think Brighton will get a little bit of revenge like Newcastle did against Manchester United earlier a couple weeks ago. I think Brighton will get them at home. Liverpool takes on Fulham. This could definitely be an interesting matchup as Fulham looked like they were on the beach and they picked up a couple results recently. They're definitely not a pushover, and we know how inconsistent Liverpool is. That might be one to watch. Excuse me. Manchester City versus West Ham. City's in cruise control, but will West Ham and David Moyes have something to say about that? They might. They might. But Man City's clicking on all cylinders, and I completely doubt it. But on to the weekend, match week 35. Newcastle takes on Arsenal. Can you preview this game for us, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. Arsenal have picked up only 3 points in their last 4 games. Newcastle has picked up 9 in their last 4 in that same spell. Arsenal traveling to the electric, the buzzing, the Toon Army of St. James's Park, in which they need a win. Arsenal needs a win. Because a draw at this point in the title race, if you still want to consider if there is a race, it's not good enough. They got to win. They got to go out and win. And so who knows? That could be Newcastle's advantage. Arsenal is actually coming in. I don't know the official odds, but the odds that I looked at has Arsenal actually coming in as a slight underdog against Newcastle. Newcastle being the favorite, which can you blame them? I just went over the recent kind of form, last 4 games, 9 points for Newcastle, only 3 points for Arsenal. It's pretty wild. Who thought that we'd be saying at this point of the season? We thought they maybe have 2 hands on the trophy almost. Arsenal not coming into this game as favorites, or are they coming into this game as favorites? Brandon, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, this is a massive game for Arsenal just to see where they're at mentally. Are they shattered? Are they broken? Or can they come out away at St. James's Park and give Newcastle a game and win? I mean, I think they need to win if they want to keep that title hope alive, because I think it still exists in a minute percentage, but it's still there. Newcastle at home, though, man, what a team! It's very, very hard to beat. St. James will be rocking. Arsenal might come out scared again. Who knows? It's hard for me to imagine that, but I mean, look at the last 4 weeks, dude. Look at the last 4 weeks. You don't know what Arsenal team is about to show up. And if it's a scared one that played against Man City, watch out. It could be 4-1 again, the way Newcastle's playing. So Newcastle are definitely favorites. The favorites for me as well to win this game. What about you?
Yeah, favorites for me for sure. I think if the game was at Arsenal at the Etihad, or at the Emirates, whatever it is, I do think that I'd swing the other direction. I do think it's that close, but yeah, being away right after that matchup against Man City's got to be tough, and Newcastle knows that, and they're gonna make you hear it on that game.
Oh, it's going to be so good. That's the one to watch this weekend for sure. Liverpool also takes on Brentford. Liverpool's at home. I think Liverpool has like a string of 3 or 4 home games in a row, which is interesting. But this is one of them against Brentford. Nottingham Forest takes on Southampton. This is the battle for the bottom here. This result will be massive, and now that we're hyping it up, it's probably going to be a draw like we did last week. But Nottingham Forest are definitely looking to hop out of the relegation zone with a win. So maybe Steve Cooper and the guys can do that. The 30 new signings, can do that. We jump around the world, and we're going to look at CONCACAF Champions League first here. The semifinal matchup that we previewed, Philadelphia versus LAFC. The game ended in a 1-1 draw, actually. Gazdag scored a penalty in the 86th minute. You probably thought the game was over. They would see it out at home, but not so fast. The man who gave up the penalty, U.S. international Kellen Acosta, scored the equalizer in the 91st minute to tie the game, going back to LA. Massive result for LA just to get something out of that game. And going back home is going to be very, very tough. It's going to give us MLS Cup final vibes. I'm pretty sure of it. So definitely tune in this week if you get the chance. Tigres, on the other side, Tigres played Leon, beating them 2-1. Leon scored early in the 6th minute from a forced turnover on the outside edge of the box, Tigres box that is, and a beautiful shot to put it past the keeper. I think it was off the post. It was really, really nice. But they couldn't make it into the break at that 1-0 score. The Tigres scored 2 in the last 4 minutes of the half, and that's where it saved the rest of the game. And honestly, this was a goalie show. Go back and watch these highlights. The Tigres goalkeeper made 7 saves, and they were really good ones. And the Leon goalkeeper made 8 saves, and a couple really good ones in there as well. Really good matchups we have here, Steve. Who do you see going through this week?
Yeah, I love LAFC at home. I think that goal that they got at the end there was huge. LAFC's crowd's going to be rocking. So I got LAFC going through, and then to be boring and pick the team also ahead right now on goals, I'll pick Tigres ahead of Leon, giant of Liga MX, and I think it's going to be an amazing LAFC Tigres final, to which at that point, I'm throwing the ball up in the air. I have no idea. But that's the final everybody wants. Everybody wants. I would love to see LA and in the Champions League final. It'd be beautiful. I don't. They haven't won it. So they're gonna have to take it off the list. So it's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it will definitely be an MLS winner this year. That Tigres team is good, I'll tell you. And Leon's very good as well. I think LAFC will take it at home. I agree with you there. But Philly could be on a revenge tour. I don't know. We'll see. Definitely want to tune into Tigres versus Leon. Probably have to side with Tigres just knowing their history. And then from there, I'm going with an MLS club. Sorry, Tigres. But that takes us into our MLS Fast Five. Last week, New England drew FC Cincinnati 1-1. Steve guessed 2-2 draw, so he gets the point there for the result. Real Salt Lake drew Seattle Sounders. I said it was going to be a 1-1 draw, so I got the result right, so I'll take that point. Thank you very much. Orlando took on LA Galaxy, winning 2-0. I guess 1-0. I'll take that one as well, Steve. Thank you very much. Minnesota took on Dallas, 0-0 draw. A lot of draws this week from the
Yeah.
games we chose. Neither of us chose a draw, so that's a scratch. And also a scratch was our last MLS Fast 5 match, Nashville versus Atlanta, which was 3-1 to Nashville. We didn't get that one right. But it is a new week, and with a new week brings a new MLS Fast 5, match week 10. Steve, start us off. We are at FC Cincinnati versus DC United.
Yes, the battle of 2 in the East versus 7 in the East. I'm going to go with 3-1 result for FC Cincinnati.
I'm going to go with a 2-0 result for FC Cincinnati. The next matchup is FC Dallas versus St. Louis, Steve.
I'm really intrigued about this one. St. Louis number 2 right now in the standings in the West. Dallas at 4. I'm gonna change my result that's on the Google sheet. I'm gonna go 2-2 draw. I think it'll be a draw.
Ooh. 2-2 draw. I think it'll be a blowout win for FC Dallas. I'm just going to guess a weird one here. I'll say 3-0 FC Dallas to beat St. Louis. San Jose hosts the former champions, the reigning champions, LAFC. Who do you have?
I'm actually going for an upset on this one. I'm going San Jose winning 1-0 at home. They're actually in some pretty good sneaky form this year.
Yeah, they are. I agree with you there. I can't see LAFC not scoring, though, so I'll go with a 2-1 result for San Jose. Toronto takes on New England. Who do you have?
I got a statement draw here for Toronto at home. I got 2-2.
Yeah, Toronto, weird team. I sort of like them, but I don't know if they'll beat New England this week. I think I'm going to go with a 2-1 New England win away at Toronto. And our last MLS Fast 5 match for the week is Inter Miami versus Atlanta United. Steve, who do you have?
Okay, I have Inter Miami beating Atlanta United 2-1. I think Atlanta's just longing for home, and I think we might get stung down here. Never looking for something to prove down there. So, and I think Yakumaki still might be out. So, yeah, I think it might be a 2-1 Inter Miami win.
Yeah, I think the best Atlanta United could do here. I mean, they could win. They're good, but a draw would be a good result. Um, I'll go with a 1-1 draw on that one.
Cool.
Boring. That takes us into our final segment of the day, which is You Betcha. Again, this goes without saying, but we are amateur bettors, and this is not betting advice, but we typically win at least one of them per week, sometimes. Steve, what is your lock for the week?
Yes, I'm definitely going for, well, I say relatively easy lock. Probably, who knows? I'm going for Man United plus 105 on the money line to beat West Ham United. That game is over on the weekend. I think they can get it done as compared to Brighton, which I was toying with choosing Man United over earlier. But yeah, I'm going for the lock of Man U over West Ham.
I think that's a safer lock for sure if you're trying to win money. And mine's not so safe, but like I was mentioning earlier, Leicester City has to circle a couple games on their remaining 4 to get results in. And this upcoming weekend is one of those games. Leicester City plus 160 to beat Fulham on Monday. It's a must-win for Leicester, I think, and I do believe they can beat Fulham. So lock that in. Well, that's it for the Supporter Section podcast today. We hope you enjoy our time together. If you made it this far, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you have not already, and definitely get in the comments to let us know how you feel. You know, we're 2 soccer experts, but, you know, we'll listen to you. Obviously, sarcasm there. I've been Brandon Pasnick. He's been Stephen Curl. Enjoy your weeks, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.